Okay, Ms. Perry? Okay, welcome to the Capitol, Ms. Perry.
Yes, thank you. My name is Timmy Chataignier. I'm here to talk about the death of my daughter. It's happened quite a while back, and really, it's just lingering on, like 25 years, And she was murdered. I was shot, and just nothing good has been done. Charlotte was born in February. She was followed by 4 brothers. And they had family. We had a good family. We had a good working thing with our children. Charlotte was a wonderful help in our home. I could count on her for help everywhere I needed. She loved to be around people. She loved to be with family. She was always around people that knew what they were doing. They were never violent people. Of course, back then we didn't have the violence we have now. She was very well in school. We had a happy home, good friends and family friends. After she finished high school, she took a business course in Lafayette and completed it. She had a position with a legal firm in Lafayette. She became excited about everything in her new life. She trusted the world around her. She never looked to see that there was a possible problem with a lot of people in there that started little more violence than we expect in a little town like St. Martinville. She was excited about everything in her new life. She trusted the world. Charlotte resumed her outside life with her friends, an occasional date with a friend. Things were good. Then Scott Bork came into her life. Didn't realize anything about the boy. After a few nights, he came around more and more, almost just too much. She refused more dates and asked him not to call as much, especially at her workplace. Scott continued to call her at our home. I would try to discourage him about Charlotte was busy or Charlotte was sleeping and whatever. But continued. I never thought to call police or anything on him because I didn't detect any kind of thing. Things like that didn't happen. You didn't have killers knocking on your door thinking that something was in his heart to do. But as it happens, he would keep coming. And then when Scott would come, he would stand by the door, insist on being opened. We never did. Scott continued to call at her home. I had to answer the phone for him. I had to take her to work. She was getting afraid, but she never told us some of the violent things he had threatened her with if she didn't start seeing him again. Charlotte continued to call our home. I would answer the phone. I didn't contact the police. I felt that we could handle this. This is just somebody who just won't take no for an answer. So anyhow, I would always stay around Charlotte. I started bringing her to work because he was actually lurking around the department where she worked for the lawyer. She brought her work home sometimes to finish so she wouldn't be alone at the place. And I could understand she was getting more and more scared. Well, one night, Charlotte, Mike, and my son were sitting in the kitchen. Scott yelled outside and started banging on the door. And at that time, Well, I mean, it was a shock. Just things like that, as I kept saying, they don't happen. You don't expect that you're going to see that. I mean, you're in a little town. Heaven knows you talk to everybody. But this guy was just different. I told Mike to run and get the police. Mike ran towards the back in the house. Then Charlotte, and he took off, and Charlotte ran towards the back in the back of the house. He grabbed Charlotte and started pulling on her to pull her out. Then I grabbed Charlotte to pull her away, and I saw that he had a shotgun and another gun in his pocket. But still, my thought was to pull my daughter away and for us to get out of there. Scott pulled me away from Charlotte. He aimed a shotgun at my throat, and I pulled it away from Charlotte, away from my right arm. Scott grabbed the gun anyhow and aimed the gun while he was holding Charlotte with one hand. He raised his hand, and with the shotgun, he had put the gun under my neck, and I pushed it away, and I could hear Charlotte screaming, help, and we were doing what we could. Well, I wouldn't let go, so I pulled myself away, and he went ahead and put the gun right towards my shoulder, and he shot me. And I continued to hear Charlotte scream, but I couldn't get up. I couldn't focus to help her. And I thought by then, the police should have been at the door. I'm sure the neighbors heard that commotion, but nothing was done right there. Then I heard that Mike had come back, and his car was parked, and he didn't see me, but he saw Scott pulling Charlotte still out. But Charlotte kept pulling back. I could hear her, but I couldn't talk. I was shocked. I had no idea. So I heard Charlotte scream, "Not my mama," as he dragged Charlotte away. And I continued to hear Charlotte screaming. Then I heard one shot, and then a noise stopped. When I heard Mike yell to two policemen that were there, had come and were parked away, I heard two policemen, and I heard Mike yelling, "Shoot him, shoot him." That's all he could see, because he saw Charlotte. And Charlotte had been shot once. Wasn't shot bad, but Scott, I think, must have assumed he had killed her. So as far as he saw, as long as he saw Mike, he started walking towards Mike with his gun cocked, and he was just going to kill whoever he could. Then I heard Mike, as Scott was walking towards him, he still realized he heard Charlotte. He wanted the police, the two policemen who held the gun. They had opened the car door, and they had watched Scott walk back to Charlotte. And they left Mike alone. Mike was still trying to get their thing, shoot him, do something. He could see something was coming. Well, all of a sudden, he turned back towards Charlotte, forgot about Mike, and thank God, at least I thought that this one would live. Then I heard 3 shots in a silence. I knew that Charlotte was dead, and I feared Mike when I didn't see him. I was afraid for him. Then a voice called me and let me know Mike's not hurt. They ran to the thing. And I thank God for the life and a goodbye prayer for my daughter. It's been 20 years since my daughter, Charlotte, was murdered. The man, Scott Bork, was found guilty without a doubt. They pulled in to go ahead after they had heard all the things when it was the court thing. And they came out within 20 minutes. And I mean, they okayed a death penalty. It has been 20 years. Scott, who was found guilty without a doubt, is still alive. Louisiana law should not allow anyone under a sentence of death to have that sentence delayed for such an unusual amount of time. So we're just hoping that now we have the chance that people like Charlotte, people like I met this man's daughter, met her through him. He was telling me as it happened, our daughters were murdered 2 years apart. They were different things, but all of his daughters and my daughter had stuff in common. There was a reason for me coming here. I'm hoping now he can be helped. And all of these people, they're watching the men or the ladies that have been murdered not go helped out. Not the families. We do as much as we can. And we see too much avoided. You know, there's too many things that are happening, and it's worse. I see that more and more. I worked at school a long time. I saw children getting beat up by their parents or beat up by people and nothing done. And eventually you read about some kind of a death notice on the paper, and it's not happening. They're still dying just as often. And it's not always the police fault. It's just we're not acknowledging when we see somebody in trouble, and we just help them by contacting the police or their parents and say, I know that your child is being mistreated. You have to do something. We can do something just as well as them. And we should, because I think we can stop it, whether it happens at school, where I worked for a long time, or you see it happening on the street. Contact. Tell the authorities. The parents don't do it too quick because they're feared for their other children. So I just think that we have the knowledge to do something about it, not see us losing any more family, children. It just happens. And at least we'll feel safe to walk on the street, because it can happen again. So thank y'all for listening. I hope that y'all never have to see something like this, and that y'all have the opportunity to stop it if y'all do see it. Do something to help them before. They might not tell their mother they're being abused or their father. We have to, when we see violence on the thing, we have to go ahead and say something. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome to the Capitol, and thank you for your support and your commitment. Is Mr. Perry not going to speak today?
I think his mom.
Okay, that was his mother? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.